All right, week 8 review coming up on week 9. So we're going to look here at a play where a block below the waist kind of slips through the cracks on us. A lot of this is we'll fault the having to have a 5 official crew. I wish we could have 7 officials on every game. This is an example of where we need 7 officials on every game. So let's just talk about 5 officials here for a minute, because we do, in the world we live in, we have to use that a lot. And let's talk here on this play about understanding where the holes are in 5 and when we're going to have to be, maybe as a referee or an umpire or whichever position, knowing where everyone else is looking, and especially where they're not looking in a 5 official crew. So, for example, if we look at the short wing here, since this is 5 officials, there's their initial responsibility. All right, that player is completely uncontested. So they can focus on inside a little bit to the tackle, and they might be able to focus on down to this back. Okay. But that's a lot to ask for them, for their eyes to transition that far inward, okay, from 5 officials. Note here, though, since that back there is going to be the player in question here in a minute, that if this were 7 official crew, that's exactly where they would be looking at the snap. Okay. So got to know that we don't have short wings looking in the backfield a lot of the times on 5 officials. So up here, we're short wings out here. Okay. That's an uncontested receiver, so they might come here. The back judge is technically on this receiver, but they're uncontested, so they might come into here. But that inside back right there doesn't have but maybe one set of eyes on them at the snap. So let's just be aware that if you're that only set of eyes, that you're going to have to maybe widen your vision just a little bit to cover these gaps, okay? So we see here that they kind of peel back and block below the waist. So our eyes are going to move to the left here because the play is going to move to the left, but the blocker goes back to the right. Makes it kind of difficult, okay, again, because he just kind of sets himself into a gap in the coverage. So we just have to be aware of those gaps and make sure our vision stays out wide enough that we can pick this up. All right. Here's another 5 official crew. We're going to see a chop block by the tight end and tackle over here, okay? Not the most egregious chop block in the world, but it is one. So let's think about who's looking where. All right, so you can't see it, but there is another receiver to this side, so that's going to put the back judge on this tight end. We have, again, this is 5 officials, so a short wing will be on this receiver that's off the screen. The short wing on the far side here will be looking at this tight end. The referee is here, and the umpire has these 4. Okay, so knowing where everybody's looking, knowing where they're not looking, knowing which tackle the referee has is important for the umpire. So which way, we don't have to line up opposite them. We can line up either side, but we got to know which way the referee is focused so that we can focus on the opposite 4. As a short wing, we've got to know when we have that tight end, when we don't. All right, so if we see this play as it develops, that tight end is going to go low, tackle is going to block high. So in theory, we should get 2 flags on this, okay? Now, sometimes as a short wing, you're going to see the low block and you can't tell for sure about the high block from that angle. This is one of those cases where if you think it's a chop block, throw it and then come into the umpire and ask for help. Ask them if that second block was high or not, and they should be able to help you out, okay? But when we miss things like this, it's only because our eyes are not in the right place. And a lot of times that has to do with it's not just knowing what we're looking at. We have to know what the rest of our crew is looking at to make sure we're covering all the spots. And again, with 5 officials, that is much more difficult than with 7. Okay, here's an interesting play. The old swinging gate. Okay, so we see this all the time. This is a little different variation of it. So I thought I would share it because there's so many different ways you can do this. All right, so swinging gate. First thing we need to note: do they have numbers 50 to 79 in the game, it appears they do. Is the snapper eligible? No, he's not here because of his number. All right, he would be eligible by alignment unless there's another end out here that we can't see. But he is not eligible because of his number. Okay. All right. That's the first thing. The next thing to note is, are they in a kicking formation? Usually when teams run the swing and gate, they are not in a kicking formation until they rotate everybody back or shift everybody back to normal. But this team actually is in a kicking formation. As you can see here, our holder and our kicker are in kicking formation while the linemen are still shifted over. So what does that mean for us? Well, it means we need to be in kicking formation. We need two people under the goalpost and a side judge on the goal line. All right. Of course, they could snap it and kick it here, but they don't. Okay. So another interesting aspect of this play is we get this sideways snap here. Okay. So let's watch the snapper here. Well, as he snaps the ball, it's two-handed and sideways, but it's a smooth, continuous motion and backwards. So that's a legal snap. Okay. Legal snap, legal play, successful touchdown on a try. Okay. The only thing I would point out on this play is this tight end up here. We could make an argument that we might not be set right there before the ball snapped. It's close. Okay. I'm okay with it. We just need to have an opinion on that. All right, so back to the original point here. On the swing and gate, okay, we need to check numbers. We're looking for 5 linemen, 50 to 79. If they have that, then there is a potential for the snapper to be eligible if he is the end man on the line and has on the correct number. Second thing we need to look at, are they in that kicking formation? If so, we need to be in a kicking formation. If they're not, then we need to be in our regular formation. If they shift to a kicking formation, then we shift with them. So it can be a little tricky. Sometimes we have to feel like we get in a hurry, but we need to try our best to be in the same alignment that matches their alignment. All right. Just as a reminder, and this is a good job here calling this, just as a reminder about the tush push play, helping the runner. I know we talk a lot about, I know we show a lot of times where we don't call it, but let's just show one that we do call it. So if you're one of those officials who thinks, man, nobody ever calls that, yeah, they do. Okay. They call it all the time. Okay. I'm just bad sometimes about not putting stuff on film when it's done right. So let's just throw this out here that, yeah, we do call this. Okay. So this is a good job. That's definitely helping the runner. It looks like all three of them try to push the quarterback. So that's definitely helping the runner. It's on 4th and 1. They're lining up, giving it away before the snap. Everybody can tell what's coming, and we get a flag on it. Good. All right, another interesting play from same game here. We have a potential intentional grounding situation. It turns out to be intentional grounding, but the interesting thing here is the ball is thrown not by the original receiver of the snap, okay? So the passer, to get the exception to the intentional grounding rule to where you can be outside the free blocking zone and throw the ball away as long as you throw it beyond the line of scrimmage, that exception only applies to the player who first possesses the ball after the snap. So that is number 14, who then backward passes to number 5. So number 5 now does not have that exception to the intentional grounding rule or illegal forward pass rule. Okay. At this point, this player has to throw the ball in the vicinity of an eligible receiver. Outside of free blocking zone, cross the line of scrimmage doesn't get him out of this. Okay. Now, in this case, he doesn't throw it across the line of scrimmage anyway. All right. But it's key to point out here that he has lost that rule exception because he is not the original player to possess the ball after the snap. All right. I got 5 plays right there, just some things to think about. That's the Week 8 review. Getting close to the end. Let's be ready for anything that coaches have thought up or players have thought up or trick plays or formations that people have worked on all year. They're going to pull them out right now, Week 9, Week 10. This is like playoffs for a lot of people because these are elimination games. And obviously, as we move into round one, we will definitely be in elimination games, and people will pull out all the stops, as they say. And sometimes those things aren't legal. So let's be aware of things that are happening in our games. And good luck to you.